but we're talking about reclamation projects. He is one. He's looking for a fresh start, but there's a lot of others. So I asked our Twitter audience today, Charlie, I asked our Twitter followers for some of their ideal reclamation projects, and I put a bunch of guys here in the outline. I don't think we need to discuss each one individually, but there's some I want to get to. If there's any you think deserve discussion,
sure,
we can get to them. I'm going to start with Evgeny Kuznetsov. He was brought up a few times. I like the player a lot. Another guy who just came out of the player assistance program. Was pretty good for Carolina. Scored some goals for them. He's only costing them $3.9 million against the cap, and I think that's kind of the.
And he's under contract for another year.
Yeah, but maybe they'd want to move on. They have some guys they need to re-sign. My thing is like, they have a lot of guys they need to re-sign. I bet you he's providing surplus scoring value at under $4 million. Might not be their thing to be like, well, we gave up assets for this dude and he's pretty cheap. We want to move him. No.
Yeah, like I don't know why they would, unless they just decide they need cap space or he just doesn't fit. But it seemed like he was fine for them at the end of the regular season into the playoffs. I don't hate Kuznetsov, and I certainly hope that he's past his personal issues and he's put that behind him. I'm rooting for him. I don't know if he's 32 years old. It doesn't really fit the timeline.
Yeah.
Like, he's perfect for Carolina because he's providing
the timeline is now.
The timeline is now, and he's hopefully for them providing surplus value on this contract that he has. But for the Flyers, I don't really see a fit.
It's crazy to me. He's 32 years old. Like, I remember seeing Briz like after he was bought out. But like, he was still around the Flyers all the time. Like, if there was a good Russian on the other team, he would always be in the hallway talking. So Caps games, he was like, oh yeah, man. Like, he would come to see Kuznetsov. Like, he liked watching him play.
Yeah,
like, people would ask it. Like, he was young then. Like, oh, he's going to be like a breakout star for them. It's like, he's 32 now. Wow. Yeah. Time flies. But another guy on Carolina whose name came up quite a bit, and we've talked about him at least in passing. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, potential buyout candidate for them.
It doesn't look like they're going to buy him.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen.
I think where I'm at with Kotkaniemi is, if he were to be bought out, I would have serious interest. I don't have any interest in trading for that contract.
Current price tag, not all that interesting. Yeah. I would like it. It makes sense in the buyout scenario.
Right.
I think it absolutely does make sense there. But with the Flyers' current cap situation, like, where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, they could find a way if they just use LTIR, they buy out somebody. Like, they could make it work if they absolutely decided that Kotkaniemi is someone who they can turn into a 1C if with the right tutelage or whatever. But it's a scary contract. Yeah. And if he's bought out, which I don't think is going to happen, but if he was, then I would be very interested. Offer him, a 1-2 year deal, prove it contract, and see what you can get out of him. I don't want to take on that deal.
A name, I'm not sure if he counts as a reclamation project, but I wanted to bring up because it would at least, one, just be interesting. I love him. And two, like, potentially solve a power play problem. Shayne Gostisbehere.
How is he a reclamation project?
56 points he scored for Detroit last year. He's second most of his career.
He's already been reclaimed.
Yeah, the last 2 years were...
The reclaiming has happened.
The reclamation would have been like when the Flyers traded him for nothing.
Right.
Like
for less than nothing.
Yeah, for literally they had to pay to get rid of him and got nothing in return. But like... decent season with Arizona, then got traded to Carolina, and now 56 points with Detroit. He is a UFA, but like, he just had the second best season points wise of his career. Don't think he counts. And again, timeline wise, like, I don't know. All the effort should be put into making Jamie Drysdale that guy rather than bringing back that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it'd be fun if Ghost was on the team, but I just don't see how he fits.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's not a reclamation project. He's already been reclaimed. A couple other names that were on here that I found interesting. One that I found legitimately interesting, even though I don't think there is any chance that he would get traded to the Flyers, but he is an example of a true reclamation project, is Capo Caco. because he's a guy where his stock is very low now because he was a top pick, and it seems like a lot of people in the game have decided that he's just a bust in terms of what he was expected to be. And he's the kind of guy, like, I feel like a lot of times when people say reclamation project, what they mean is that really good player on another team. It's not really a reclamation. Yeah. It's only a reclamation project if I would say more people than not think he's not that good. Yeah. Like the reason why Owen Tippett was a reclamation project is because Florida wasn't using him at the NHL level, and a lot of people just thought he was a bust. And the Flyers are like, we like the talent, we'll give it a go. Like Cabo Kakko fits that much better than, like Quentin Byfield. Like everybody knows Quentin Byfield's real good. Yeah, LA knows Quentin. I would love it if they traded for Quentin Byfield, but like it's not as if that's a reclamation. No, it's just you're trying to trade for the really, really good young player, which like hell yeah, try to do it, but it's not reclamation.
No, like
Kakko is reclamation.
Like, coming into this season, like Kakko and Lafreniere, it's like I don't know, and now Lafreniere looks like he's well on his way to at least becoming, if not a star, a very good player.
Top half of the lineup.
And now Kakko's just sitting there like, he just might not be very good.
Yeah.
Like that is a reclamation project.
Exactly.
Is it just the appetite you think of the Rangers to give us?
I don't think the Rangers would trade him to the Flyers.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that happening. One guy who I actually brought up in my mailbag, who is also on that list, he's not really a reclamation project because I think Winnipeg knows he's good, but they aren't using him, and that's Cole Perfetti. He got scratched in the playoffs. I believe it was basically once they traded for, the winger, Toffoli. Yep. Once they traded for Toffoli, he kind of got pushed out of the rotation, and he's a guy where, if I'm Danny, I'm at least giving them a call and asking, hey, is he in your plans? Because if he's not, I'm willing to talk about him. I don't think he will come cheap because I think Winnipeg knows he's good, he's young, he's talented, but he is a guy where I would check in at the very least. The same way that teams check in on Morgan Frost. Like, hey, your crazy coach seems to hate this guy. You willing to trade him?
Yeah. I think Perfetti is one of the more, I don't know, possible, but like fits the description names.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe because, listen, the dude is getting scratched in the playoffs. Yeah. Like maybe there's something there, and it could be if the appetite isn't to keep Morgan Frost, could you see that as a like, all right, we're going to do fresh start for fresh start kind of trade?
I mean, maybe. Perfetti's a little bit younger, might fit the timeline a little bit better than Frost, although I certainly think Frost does fit the timeline if he actually stays a Flyer.
I know you hate hypothetical trades. I'm just coming up with the idea.
When I went on Sirius yesterday, they asked me about Morgan Frost, and I basically said that you are going to be asking me the same question every year for the next 5 years, and then we're going to wake up and he's 30 and he's still on the Flyers.
I forgot to do something in Kelly's absence. Can you say what you were doing yesterday when you had this conversation? Wait, you were on what?
I was on Sirius NHL.
Ooh. Yeah, that was for you, Hanks. Name that I found interesting here that didn't immediately come to mind, but someone tweeted to us. Josh Norris.
There was some rumbling. There's rumblings about every single player on Ottawa.
Every single Ottawa player, yeah. But I found
whoever in that front office just cannot keep their mouth shut. They need to fire.
They really need to get rid of somebody. Maybe they have, and it's just like, we sent the text, but like it's on a BlackBerry, so we're gonna. It didn't go through. The guy didn't get it. He's just getting like all like fucking question mark boxes. Like I don't know. Like I'm going to work until they tell me no.
Straight up Office Space.
We fixed the glitch.
But
Josh Norris is interesting to me because one, I think Ottawa, like I've said with Buffalo, they're one of those teams that's like change for the sake of change. They need to do something. Maybe you can take advantage of them being stupid. And two, Josh Norris, one, fits the timeline. Two, basically the same contract as Sean Couturier. Sean Couturier has a friend up there in the Great White North of Ottawa. I'm just saying.
Oh, Bill.
Maybe.
Didn't we just talk a half an hour ago about how Sean Couturier is speaking as if he wants to be a Flyer until he's 80? He wants to be the next general manager, actually.
It's a very smart thing to be. It's a very smart thing to want to be a Flyer. You're immediately on the short list to work in the front office one day. You have a job for life. I'm not... Listen, if I am a super agent and I'm trying to work behind the scenes to get my client out of a situation he doesn't want to be in, and I see the hurdles, I'd tell him, you're happy. You go out there and let them know where you're happy. Like, you know what? You know what? Columbus is going to get nothing. They're going to get nothing for a guy who might be a 40-goal scorer. He might stink, but he might be a 40-goal scorer again one day. I bet it would be a lot easier to trade Sean Couturier if everyone thinks he doesn't want to be traded. I don't know. Just thinking.
You and your conspiracy theories.
I'm not saying that this is going to happen. It is in all likelihood not going to happen. I'm just looking at a timeline and financial fit where it could work.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
No, I mean, it's the same thought that people had with Jonathan Huberdeau.
Yes.
The idea of like, well, he's underperforming. He's on a massive contract. That though, if it were to go down the path of Sean Couturier deciding, I don't want to be a Flyer anymore, I want to go somewhere else for whatever reason, probably Tortorella driven, they would have to get very creative. And you're right. Those are some things that you want to look at just in case, but I just don't think it's going to happen. At least it does not appear that Sean Couturier is going down that road yet, and he would have to go down that road for it to be an option because he's got the no movement clause.
We all silly like the mayor.